One of the hardest things in life, it's navigating change. There's a really good quote, I forget who said it, but they said that change is the only constant in life. And I strongly believe that. Things are always changing. We're changing, people around us are changing, the world is changing, our circumstances are changing. And it's very easy to get caught up attaching to certain things within ourselves, whether it's our health, the way we look, our circumstances, the people in our lives. And it's that attachment to what is changing or what can change that usually causes a lot of our suffering. I know I've realized that in my life. But there's a few things I've realized and learned about navigating change that have really helped me be able to do that with more inner peace and less resistance and less suffering. And one of the things that's really helped me in life is having the mindset that life will never give me something that I'm not strong enough to handle. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy, and it certainly doesn't mean that I feel ready for it. But those are different than being strong enough to handle what life or God is putting in our path. And in taking on that mindset, it's really given me the empowerment, the tools, the resources, the strength to be able to manage and navigate some of those difficult times and some of that change. Because usually difficult times are a result of some sort of change that's happening. That's kind of what I've realized. And it could be, the loss of a loved one. It could be some sort of health issue. It could be anything, financial, whatever, relationship based. But it's taking on that mindset that really helped me get through some of the hardest times in my life. The mindset that life will never give me something, or God will never give me something, put something in my path that I'm not strong enough to handle. And I didn't necessarily know how I was going to handle it. I didn't necessarily know what the path ahead looked like, but I knew that I had what it took to put one foot in front of the other and just keep moving forward. And looking back, I found that those hard times, the things that I didn't feel ready for, those changes in my life, were actually ways that I was being stretched to grow, to evolve in some way, to expand myself. And that's not a comfortable process. It's actually usually quite uncomfortable, I've found. It's growing pains, really, is what it is. When you're going through a growth spurt, when you're a kid, you get those growing pains. It's the same thing, but it's growing pains for your spirit, for your soul, for you, on a deep level. And I found that a lot of times the things that cause us suffering are pointing us within ourselves, showing us where we're not free, where we've attached, and therefore where we resist, where we try to stop things and control things that we can't control. So I've realized that now change is God's way of helping us grow or shift or expand. And taking that on with grace, taking that on with a mindset that I can do this. There's another really good quote that I like, and it's, It doesn't matter how deep the water is when you know how to swim. Kind of speaks to the same thing. When we can manage ourselves, master ourselves, it doesn't matter what happens outside of us. It doesn't mean that it's easy or comfortable by any stretch of the imagination. But what it does mean is that we have ourselves intact. We have mastered this, which can then navigate some of those rougher waters in life. And something that's really helped me with that in terms of managing or mastering myself and navigating change is when everything outside of us is changing and unstable. It lasts, for a period of time, but not forever. We have to find something that is stable, that is unchanging. It's almost like if you were experiencing an earthquake, you would just want to find some stable ground somewhere. And, in this metaphor, there is stable ground that you can find within yourself. I've realized that it's in stillness, in presence, in awareness. When we can return back to that within ourselves, that inner stillness, and just become aware of ourselves. Navigating change becomes, I don't want to say easier, but there isn't as much suffering involved with it. And the reason for that is what I've come to see is because we can hold space for the attachments, the resistance, the identification with those things that are changing. We can clearly see what is actually causing our suffering. And it's not always, it rarely is what's happening outside of us or that change that's happening. It's how we've attached to something. It's how we've identified with it. And now it's how we're resisting that change that is causing this inner turmoil. Now, it doesn't mean that, again, it's easy. I find that this is a muscle that we can strengthen within ourselves, coming back to awareness, stillness. And if we wait to do this until something really difficult is happening, some massive, drastic change is happening in our lives, it's like going from 0 to 1,000. It'd be like if you walked into the gym on your first day and tried to bench press 400 pounds, It'll feel like it's exceeding your capacity at that point. And now, maybe that's a poor example because I, as I said, strongly believe that life will never give us something that we're not strong enough to handle. I think that there's stepping stones in life. When I look back on my own life and the hardships that I've experienced, they were like stepping stones over the years. Some still seem very difficult to me at the time. But if I were to compare, a hardship I went through at 15 versus a hardship I went through at 26, the hardship at 15 in hindsight was here, and the hardship at 26 was here. And if that hardship at 26 was given to me at 15, I wouldn't have had those other stepping stone hardships that prepared me and helped me evolve and grow for some of those other hardships later in life. But coming back to that awareness, again, and I've only learned this through change, through experiencing difficulty and hard times, that when we can find that unchanging, stable place within ourselves, we can come back to that place when we're feeling distressed, when things are changing, when things are uncertain. And that place of awareness is what I found where peace is, where inner wisdom is, where your inner guidance system is trying to speak to you, always. But if we get too caught up living from our attachments, trying to control things, resist things, it's very difficult to tune into that within ourselves, find that inner peace, hold space for our emotions in response to what's happening. So if you're going through a difficult time, if you're experiencing change, know that life likely won't give you something you're not strong enough to handle. If you see it that way, it's a mindset. And it's likely helping you grow, helping you spread your wings in some way. Because if you think about a bird that's learning how to fly, eventually, after some trial and error, some learning, eventually it's just got to take the leap. Maybe it won't feel 100% ready. Maybe it'll feel scary, uncertain. But it is strong enough to spread its wings and fly. Life is helping us spread our wings in a lot of ways, so we can evolve and move on to whatever the next level is, the next phase is in our life, the next changing phase of our life, because everything is changing. But recognizing that truth in and of itself is helpful, that change is the only constant. Because when we can see that, we don't hold on to things as if they're going to last forever. It doesn't mean we don't enjoy them. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt when they're gone, because it does. That's part of the human experience. And denying that would be to, I think, be somewhat delusional in life. But realizing that everything is changing, and realizing that there's a place within ourselves that we can go to observe our attachments, our resistance, our suffering. We can hold space for it. It doesn't overcome us. We don't lose ourselves in those things. And from there, navigating change is more graceful. There's a underlying peace in all of it. Again, it doesn't make it easy, but these are some things that have helped me when it comes to navigating change in life and navigating difficult times, because as I said, difficult times usually revolve around some sort of change. So I hope they help you, and I'll see you in the next video.